we added Judy to, listen,
Let's talk to Madam.
is, well, now you have access to that account.
But I know that you wanna, I don't know what it is.
Hello, Stephen.
Hey there. Oh, I like the socks.
But if we want.
Good to
You're
see
making a statement. Ooh,
I don't know what to say, I'm colorblind.
oh, so am I.
No, I'm
No,
not.
red, green, red, green.
I'm not colorblind.
Well, about 8% of the men are, I'm told, and I'm one of them, are red, green colorblind. So let's see, I saw my supervisor got new computers. He decided to
She
put
never calls me.
green background and that
With good reason.
in red.
But
He said, hey, she goes, look at this. I think it Yeah,
Where are you sitting?
right next to you. And at a bank, they did the same thing. So I did a pull in. My phone right there. And slowly walked out, went back in cars. We're going down, just slowly walked in, waited. And then when I got to see this man, I told him what I did because red, green, as I said, 8% of the population, male population. Maybe they should rethink the color scheme. But I like the socks.
Okay,
They kind of match the yarmulke.
okay.
Oh, look at those socks. Do they say Jewish?
Let me see. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Socks talk Jewish?
That's what he says. I don't know. I know nothing.
Judy doesn't have it?
Really don't.
We're working, we're cooking with gas.
We're cooking with gas, but it's not supposed to be there. Half of it, probably me, but I don't see it when I'm on as not me, so it must just be hidden. Bruce showed me how to.
Grew up in a small.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna do that. If I log out, it'll probably go.
But they just have the wrong state. They think it's in Texas, and it's in Georgia.
Margaret sent me an email.
So that's where that, rental cars come from?
Remember the Alamo?
Yeah.
I looked up, I said to her, I paid two.
Actually, and where is,
Bingo and one for the,
actually, the most,
and
most people like killed were five, chicks were in college.
Oh, yeah.
And where are they from?
listed there.
In Fowler, Texas. Well, you're the only one here.
So you know what? I had-
Somebody, I assumed they did it, I didn't have it, but, so, but I could still see it there, but when I logged in on my phone, it's just one person, I couldn't see it, so. Goodness.
That's what I made.
It's famous for what?
Well, yeah, I hear it. Not broadcasting, it really is simple,
Okay.
but because they do the Friday night and Saturday. night,
You're
they
the
post it on
only
YouTube, and then
family
From YouTube,
who
they get
had
the code
white
to post it on.
sheets on their bed without eyeballs.
No, I know, you don't have
Yeah, it could be I just didn't like it. And we only had to go 51
It was
miles.
definitely, it was still trying to convert the
Went to,
video when I got here, and that's already, you know, a long, long time ago.
Yeah, Fort Polk, Louisiana, to Joint Greatest Training Center. And it was during a rush, high holiday. So part of this operation, the chaplain had to put some small house. No, no, he wasn't Jewish chaplain, it was any chaplain. He had to have a mission, so I was the mission. Find, in this tiny town, I think there's like, because anyway, there were about 30 temples, maybe about, there were about 30 people. He dropped me off and came back 4 hours later. I was still there with the prayer book. He was,
Don't mind me. Look at the building. I just had the signal pleasure of doing a similar service at John Knox Village. It's nice to be here too. All right, I just wanted to say that this Shabbat is Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan, the new month of Cheshvan, which some people call Mar Cheshvan, bitter Cheshvan, because it contains no Jewish holidays. As the veteran of nearly 50 years of Jewish education, giving, not receiving, or receiving too, I wanted to point out that there's nothing bitter about Cheshvan because it has no yontifs. First off, we just finished Tishrei, which is chock full of yontifs, holidays, and Cheshvan gives us a chance to get off the ground with discussion groups and activities and all kinds of cool stuff, so that's very nice. On page 13, we have the Shalom Aleichem, and I'll ask the ladies to light the candles. All the ladies, please. Thank you. All the ladies. You don't have to light them from right to left.
Yeah. Qualified. Every time I picked it up, I don't remember what I got.
Practicing with them.
You have Siri? Yeah, Siri, mix the
Push
Siri.
and pull. Push the thing on top, pull the thing on the bottom. Got the thing working.
Can't help you there.
Sound.
We wave our hands 3 times over the candles, bringing Shabbat. We cover our eyes and sing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, b'mitzvotav. V'tzivanu, v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner. V'tzivanu, v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner. V'tzivanu, v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner. Shel Shabbat. Amen. Thank you, ladies. Shabbat shalom. Be seated.
That's right, I forget there's another day. Good
I also wanted to say that even though this is it's not a Stam Shabbos, we take out 2 Torahs from the second Torah, which is already magically turned to the right place. We have the second Kriya, the second reading, the Maftir. Sorry?
How did it happen that it got turned?
Because the silver Torahs are, all of them, set to Pinchas, and Pinchas has all the extra maftirs. Pinchas will get you through the Jewish year for everything except Hanukkah. Hanukkah, the reading is not so. Okay? Page 13. So if you had Pinchas for a bar mitzvah,
Yep.
I am torn between feeling sorry for you because it's a very bloody section. And good, great, that's wonderful. And the second part, which is I'm happy for you because you get to read the Torah a lot. Okay, page 13. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Bachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, 14, the left-hand side, we find the Yedid Nefesh. We'll sing 2 stanzas in the English. Soulmate loving God, compassion's gentle source, take my disposition and shape it to your will. Like a darting deer, will I rush to you, before your glorious presence, humbly will I bow. Let your sweet love delight me with its thrill, because no other dainty will my hunger still. How splendid is your light, illumining the world. My soul is weary yearning for your love's delight. Please, good God, to heal her, reveal to her your face, the pleasure of your presence, bathed in your grace. She will find strength and healing in your sight. Forever will she serve you, grateful with all her might. Die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 yada, die, 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 die. Yada die 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 die, yada die 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 die. Page 15. These are the 6 Psalms alluding to the 6 days of creation. But I did find on the Chabad website there is at least a minority opinion that God did not stop creating on Friday. God continued creating into Shabbat morning, and I have a very hard time wrapping my mind around that one. Why would God be machalel his own Shabbos? Why would he desecrate his own Sabbath?
He can.
So what?
He can.
God can?
He can do anything.
God can do everything except that which is contradictory or self-evasive in this world.
How do you know?
God is ruled by the same laws of nature that he created. God cannot make Niagara Falls flow upstream.
Maybe he was Jewish and he was a little
Maybe he didn't
behind.
try.
That could be. Thank you, Ron. What?
Maybe he didn't try.
No, you see, that's the point. You've got to have some order in the universe, and therefore the natural laws that God created, the sun rising in the east and setting in the west, that's why when Joshua stops the sun in the valley of Ayalon, it didn't happen. Because what would happen if the earth stopped spinning?
We fly off into
We
space.
fly off.
That's right, the earth would smash into the sun and the entire universe would be thrown out of kilter, or at least our little corner of it. So it just means it's the same thing. When he was fighting this battle, the time seemed to drag, because when you're lifting a heavy sword and shield and fighting people, time doesn't move quickly. Okay. Kiel gadol Adonai, umelech gadol al kol Elohim. Page 15. Let us sing to Adonai, let us rejoice in our Creator, let us greet God with thanksgiving, singing psalms of praise. Together, Adonai is the foundation of all life, exalted beyond all that is worshipped. In God's hand rests the world he fashioned, sea and land, abyss and mountain peak, all are God's. Let us worship Adonai, exalt our Creator, our God. We are the flock guided by God. Help is ours even today, if only we would listen to the divine voice. Harden not your heart in the way of your ancestors, who tried and tested me in the wilderness, even though they had witnessed my miracles. 40 years of contending with that generation led me to say, they are wayward, they care not for my ways. In indignation therefore did I vow, never would they reach my land, the land of peace, the land of rest. 40 shana kut bidor, va'omar am to'e levavheim, ve'hem lo yadu derachai, asher nishbati v'api, im yevon el menuchati. Let's turn to page 19 for Psalm 99. Adonai is sovereign, nations tremble, God is enthroned on high, the very earth quivers. Together, Adonai is great in Zion, exalted over all peoples. Let them praise God, for God is awesome and holy. A sovereign might he rules with the love of justice. You alone bring about equity, ordaining justice and compassion for the people of Jacob. Exalt Adonai our God, worship God who is holy. Moses, Aaron, Samuel, God's chosen ones, called out to Adonai, who answered them in a pillar of cloud. They zealously strove to obey the divine law, even when God's decrees were beyond their grasp. You responded to them with compassion, even as you rebuked them for their offenses. Extol Adonai and bow towards God's holy mountain. Adonai our God is holy. Omimu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu leHakadosh, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Page 21. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Keep and remember were uttered as one by our Creator beyond comparison. Adonai is one, His name is one, reflected in glory, in fame, and in praise. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Come, let us read Shabbat, Queen sublime, fountain of blessings in every clime, anointed and regal since earliest time. In thought she preceded creation 6 days. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Page 22, please rise, face the doors through which the Sabbath Queen will enter. Bohi v'shalom ateret b'ala, gam b'simcha u'tzala, tochem unei am seula. Bohi chala, bohi chala. Bow towards the door, bow towards the ark. Likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Page 23, please be seated. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat. Reading silently. And the last four lines. Sadikat Amar Yifrach, Ki Eres Balvanon Yizkeh, Shetulim B'Beit Adonai, B'Chatzrot Eloheinu Yavrichu. Od Yenuvu B'Seha, Tishenim V'Rananim Yehu Le'Hagid, Ki Ashar Adonai Suri V'Lo Ablatabo. You can put the prayer books aside. The Torah portion I may have mentioned before is Noah, and Noah is usually considered a children's story or an adult story?
Children.
Children, yes. There's not a kindergarten in this country that lacks a version of Noah and the Ark. But Noah and the Ark is very much a grown-up story, an adult story, and it does have certain sections which, well, I wouldn't remove them, they're important, but nonetheless, they can be hurtful. Noah is considered ish tzaddik b'dorotav. He was a righteous man in his generation. If Noah had lived in Moses' generation or Abraham's generation, would he still have been considered righteous?
Probably not.
No, because you see, let's go back to the parallel of the teacher who leaves the students, the substitute has them. Now, the kids never behave for a substitute. I think that's more or less a given. And yet, there may be one child who behaves nonetheless. If the child behaves, is that child a righteous person in their generation, or in their section, or in their class?
Yeah.
Yes, they are, because the urge is more towards misbehaving. All the other kids are misbehaving, and this kid is going out of their way to try and do the right thing. So you see, it's not easy to be a righteous person in your generation, but the rabbis make it as though Noah was righteous, because by comparison with the villains who shared his block and his neighborhood and his town, he was considered a righteous person. Anyway, we'll never really know the truth, but in the meantime, God decides that Noah is the only righteous person. Noah matzah chen b'nei Adonai. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and he left him high and dry, as the old song goes. So Noah is spared. How many kosher animals does he take onto the ark?
7 of each species.
Sorry?
7 of each species.
Kosher animals, deer, sheep, cows.
7 of each.
7 of each, very good. How many impure, how many non-kosher animals? Elephants, caribou. I mean, a caribou would be kosher if you asked it to stand still long enough to have its throat slit, but most caribou in practice do not do that. 2 of the non-kosher animals, because he wasn't going to slaughter any of them for sacrifices after the flood in thanksgiving to God. And had he done that with a pair of animals, he'd have wiped out a species. That may be what happened to the unicorn. No, I'm kidding. You see, a horse is not kosher. A horse chews its cud, but it only has 1 toe. It doesn't have a split hoof. Pigs have a split hoof, but they don't chew their cud. That's why both the horse and the pig are unkosher. Anyway, back to this. It took him 100 years. I always say he was not Jewish, but he was the quintessential Jewish type, because he was not terribly handy. And it would take him 100 years to build an ark. A cubit, by the way, is the distance between, well, my cubit's not very long. It's not as long as LeBron James's cubit. But the cubit, as we understand, is from the tip of the middle finger to the end of the elbow. So every time they elected a new king, the cubit changed. And a cubit at best is just an approximation of a distance. And God says, build it. It's that old Bill Cosby routine, build it, what's a cubit, and so on and so forth. Well, I showed you what a cubit is, but it did take him a long time to do. What did he have to coat the inside of the ark with?
Tar.
Tar, right. That's pitch. They called it pitch. They called it, well, the word escapes me in Hebrew. But nonetheless, he did a good job, and the thing floated. It took him 100 years, according to the commentary, because God wanted to give a chance to his neighbors that they'd be walking by and see him doing this voluminous boat and stop and say, why are you doing that? And Noah would explain to them that the earth was sinful and God was going to destroy it. He didn't get a single non-family member onto that boat. So he failed in his primary mission, which was to save as many people as possible. Not that they were so corrupt. Corruption, I think, is relative. They probably were by our standards, but by their own standards, not so much. Anyway, he builds the ark. He says, all aboard. He shuts the door. There is one other person, according to the Midrash, according to the legends, who is saved. That's Og, the king of Bashan. He was a giant. He was a very large giant. But he was rescued from the flood by riding on top of the ark, and Noah would pass him food through a handy skylight. He built a skylight called it Zohar. I always thought it was the same word as Zohar, which means the book of the Kabbalah. But it's not, it's sohar, which means a window. He put a window. Either it was a window or it was an amazing jewel that gleamed and gave light inside the ark. Again, the more often you tell this story, the more elaborate it becomes.
Why couldn't he come down from the roof and just be with the rest of the people?
Because he was a giant. He wouldn't fit. For the same reason, Noah had to special order windows for the giraffes. So they could poke their heads out. Yes. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Is a giraffe?
What, Leland?
Is giraffe kosher?
No. No. It has toes and it does chew its cud though. It's halfway there. That's a lot of giraffe there. Really. Well, anyway. So they survived the ark. How long does they survive the ark? They survived the ark and the flood. How long does the flood last?
40 days.
40 days and nights. It persists upon the earth. How does he discover whether the water is dried out off the face of the earth?
Sends a
He
bird.
takes out a dove. Now the dove comes back. He also, there's a possibility, there's a little fragment in the story where he also lets a raven go, but the raven does not come back. Interestingly, the raven has a position in mythology as the messenger between the gods and earth. So ravens do get around. It's not just a poem by Edgar Allan Poe. It's a good poem, but what can I say? The dove leaves, he leaves the ark, he takes two each, one male, one female, of the kosher animals, he sacrifices them, which I think is a very dirty trick. After you've saved an animal's life by having it in a big boat for 40 days and nights, you could at least spare its life. But God likes his sacrifices. God smells the savor. Isn't that fascinating? God smells, it's just like, even if you're a vegan, if your next door neighbor is having a barbecue, you smell the meat and your mouth involuntarily waters. So God does the same thing. That is one of the primary reasons, according to Jewish tradition, why God wanted sacrifices, because he likes the smell of the roasting meat. I'm in sales, not management. Anyway, so they empty the ark, and now Noah becomes a husbandman. He becomes a farmer. And he plants grapes, of all things. You'd think he'd plant something a little more practical. The grapes ferment, and he makes them into what?
Wine.
He's the first person on earth to get drunk. He is drunk, and some people who drink alcohol get very warm. He takes off all of his clothing. He is naked within the tent. This is the part they don't tell the kids in the kindergarten. His son Ham, he has three sons, Shem, Ham, and Yafet. Shem is supposedly the ancestor of the Semitic people. That's us and the Muslims and the Arabs. They're Christian Muslims too. Ham is the ancestor of the Africans, and Yafet is the father of the Gentile Europeans. You see, there's no room for Asians on this ark because the people who wrote the story had never seen an Asian person, so they left them out of the story. But Ham goes into the tent with a question for the old man, and he sees him naked, and he doesn't say anything, and he leaves the tent and tells his brothers. The brothers, observing the laws of modesty, you're not supposed to look upon your father's nakedness. Apparently they didn't have locker rooms in biblical times either. But the two boys, Yafet and Shem, take an enormous blanket, holding it in front of them. They walk into the tent backwards, close their eyes, and let the blanket fly, and theoretically they covered up the old man. He sobers up and he curses Ham. That's Shem, Ham, and Yafet, by the way. He curses him. He says Yafet will be the servant to Shem and Ham will be the servant to Shem and Yafet. He curses him, and that, because of that verse, we have thousands of years of slavery. And that's the part that I don't like. But it is part of the text. That doesn't mean we emphasize it, but I did want to share it with you just to prove that it is not a book for children. There are flood stories in every civilization, from Pango Pango to China and so on. They have the world being carried on the back of a turtle. But my favorite one, of course, is taken from the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is about 2100 years before the Christian era. The Christians say before Christ. We don't follow him, so we say before the Christian era. Or one Hebrew school student of mine once said, before the Christian error. So, what else? Okay, so Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is a mighty king for the Assyrians, and he is totally wild and untamed even after he gets married, so the gods send him Enkidu. When I was a kid, I thought the name, which is spelled Enkidu, is pronounced Enkidu, but it's not, it's Enkidu, which is more the pronunciation of Jimmy Durante. Enkidu. Yes, yes.
So that's an actual name?
In Babylonia, yes. Not in Brooklyn. Although there may be a kid named Enkidu as far as I know, I couldn't say. But that is a legitimate name. Enkidu is a unique individual. He is either a centaur, half man, half horse, or a satyr, half man, half goat. But he and Gilgamesh have a big battle, and then they become great friends. But then Enkidu gets sick, and Gilgamesh prays to the gods for a cure. And the gods send him a message or appear to him, or some sort of Assyrian angel comes along and says, you have got to go on a long journey and visit the man who built the ark to survive a flood. His name is Utnapishtim, which I think is a fabulous name. I gotta say, that's a great name for a Siamese cat or something. This is my cat Utnapishtim. And it even sounds wet. I mean, you could figure that part out for yourself. But Utnapishtim is very glad to see Gilgamesh. This entire sequence takes place at the bottom of the sea. I don't know what they're breathing, or how they're discussing anything, because the sound waves don't travel underwater. But Utnapishtim says, I have an herb which will heal your friend Enkidu, and he gives him the herb. And the story gets a little garbled at this point. Maybe Gilgamesh forgot where he was going, maybe he went the wrong way, but sadly Enkidu dies without any respite. So that takes care of that. That's really pretty much, it's a much longer story than that, because it was found on 12 tables. Not tables like in the dining room, but tables made of stone. And it was pounded on them in cuneiform. It was discovered first in the 18th century, and it's been translated since. But that's, what is the difference between the Bible flood story and Gilgamesh's flood story? I'm glad I was able to hold your attention with the Gilgamesh story, but the fact is the Bible story still is moralistic. It does teach us something. It teaches us the right way to live. Not to go out in the rain and build an ark, but rather simply that good people will survive and the evil will perish. And I'd like to believe that looking at the headlines. Thank you so much. Any questions? All right. Okay. All right, Cantor will take over, and I will take a seat.
We turn now to page 28. We rise for the Baruch Hu.
Any custom?
Let's read at the bottom of the page on the right side in the English. Beloved are you, eternal God, by whose design the evening falls, by whose command dimensions open up, and eons pass away, and stars spin in their orbits. You set the rhythms of day and night, the alternation of light and darkness sings your creating word. In rising sun and in setting dusk, Creator of all, you are made manifest. Eternal, everlasting God, may we always be aware of your dominion. Beloved are you, Adonai, for this hour of nightfall.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הרבים. page 29. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, v'shafeinu uvkumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem neged yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Oheb Amo Yisrael.
On page 30, we cover the eyes for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch, uncover the eyes. Kivod, Malchuto, Le'olam Moed. Reading in the English. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Recite them at home and away, night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and upon your gates. Continuing now on page 32.
Middle of page 32. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu aleihem, Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael echa'anu shira b'simcha raba, ve'amaru kulam, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Norati lot oseh v'eleh. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, ze'eli anu v'yamru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar, ki vada Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'al Yisrael.
On page 33, the left-hand side, we find the prayer for those who are not well. I'll read the list of the cholim, let them all become better. Paul Dobbs, Refuah Shlema. Sheila Bergman, Refuah Shlema. Nancy Borden, Refuah Shlema. Jeffrey Stern, Refuah Shlema. Sonia and Herb Yefsky, Refuah Shlema. Ken Tribble, Refuah Shlema. Harriet Churgan, Refuah Shlema. Vince and Patricia Massey, Refuah Shlema. Anna DeClaire, Refuah Shlema. Harun Imran, Refuah Shlema. Azal Atura, Refuah Shlema. Azar. Zev Otavianu. And Rabbi Phil Rothman, Refuah Shlema. Any other names?
Carol Cranon.
Refuah Shlema.
Russell Shotker.
Refuah Shlema.
Judy Kuznets.
Refuah Shlema. All right, on page 33, let's read the English paragraph. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace, and awaken us again, our sovereign to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisroel, v'al Yerushalayim, v'al kol ha'olam kulo. Amen.
We continue on page 34. Please rise and join me. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני, את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבי, ועלמא דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב במהרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לעולמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה במהרו amen. We continue with the Amidah individually, beginning on 35A or B, and be sure to include the insertion in the middle of the page, Mashiv HaRuach, that God is now, we're asking God to bring rain in Israel because it is the rainy season.
also the Ya'aleh V'Yavo, the special prayer for Rosh Chodesh
Yes,
at the
thank
bottom
you.
of 36.
Thank you.
There's always another prayer, believe me.
We continue now on page 47. ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון קונה שמיים וארץ מגן אבות בפרו וחיי מתים במאמרו האל הקדוש שאין כמוהו המניח לעמו ביום שבת קודשו כי ליבם רצה להניח להם כי ליבם רצה להניח להם לפניו נשתדל לשמור בכל יום תמיד מאוד הברכות. אל ההודעות אדון השלום מקדש השבת וברך שביעי ומניח בקדושה לעמד ושני עונג זכר למעשה בראשית. Page 48. Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu Retzei b'mnuchatenu Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha V'ten chalkeinu v'toratecha Sabeinu mituvecha V'samcheinu b'shuatecha ותאר ליבנו לעובדך באמת, ותאר ליבנו לעובדך באמת. והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך וינוחו בה ישראל מקדשי שמך ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Page 49, Kiddush. We have a little for everybody.
Incidental music.
We remember. Pink is juice, green is wine. Pink is juice, green is wine.
Do you use alcohol or not?
Pink is juice, green is wine.
Juice.
Okay. Which one is the juice?
Pink is juice.
Okay, pink is for
We
you.
have a sign somewhere. Pink is
This
juice.
is for me. Thank you.
Pink is juice. Pink is juice.
But the juice is purple.
No,
Yes.
green
Not
is
pink.
blue. Close, it's in the same color.
Challenging.
Sounds
No
good.
color, it's in the same thing.
Always a reason.
If not, we make one up.
Evil spirit.
Sabri חבריי.
Hi.
L'chaim, that's what I want to hear, l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri harafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'rasa banu, l'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava ורצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי אנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל רעים בשבת קודשך באהבה ורצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. We remain standing for the Aleinu,
Good
page
memory.
51. Aleinu shabeach ladon hakol, latekua yotzer reshit, shelo asanu goyei haratzot, velo samanu mirishmakot ha'adama, shelo sam Eloheinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlochim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai v'melech ha'oretz hayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo
Mourner's Kaddish, if you're not saying Mourner's Kaddish, you may be seated. Page 52. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yalmad yivrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayet t'chol Beit Yisrael. V'agalal v'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach v'yolam u'mei hayah. Yitborach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpo'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha b'richu, li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'yalma v'yimru, amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, u'yaseh shalom, Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yal kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimru, amen. A few announcements from our reader.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.
It's so lovely, the second week that we're here together live on Friday nights. It's wonderful. And thank you all for coming. And those of you who are watching at home, if you can get here, come and join us, because it's the sweetest feeling ever to be together on Friday night to begin Shabbat. We have wonderful, wonderful things happening at Temple Shalom, as always. I want to thank Rabbi and Cantor for a beautiful service tonight. And tomorrow, our traditional Shabbat service, and Rabbi will be doing his class afterwards, and the subject will be
Ethics. You can never have too many ethics.
really, there seems that there's a shortage of them, so we can, if we can get some out there, that would be really good. And the goodness of Temple Shalom has influence, so I'm counting on us. I want to let you know that on November 13th is going to be our bingo and brunch. Yes, Rachel, yes. So, yeah, I know you're going to come, and I'm excited you're coming. And whoever would like to join us, it's going to be the most fun afternoon ever. On Wednesday, the 13th of November, there's a beautiful brunch, all you can eat, included in the cost of the bingo. You get cards, you get a dauber, you get lunch. And what do you want from us?
There'll be some other surprises when you're selling.
Right. And there's going to be a table. Good, you reminded me, Gil. There's going to be a table selling gifts for Hanukkah. Because before you know it, it's going to be Hanukkah. And so at the brunch, you'll be able to look around for something you might like to have for someone you love. Oh, the raffle is phenomenal. You can win a 4-day cruise for 2 on Royal Caribbean, and you can do all this purchase online, or of course you can call the office on Monday and let us know that you'd like to come. It'd be a pleasure to have you. And you can purchase your raffle tickets online or in person on the day of the raffle. I want you to notice something. Our cantor wears very beautiful, unusual talits. Every week there's a different one. One is more lovely than the other. And on December 12th, which is a Thursday at 10:15, Cantor Anita is going to begin a class to show us all how to make one. So, set aside that Thursday. If you play mahjong, you can play mahjong after the class. We didn't want to disturb mahjong at all. So, I wouldn't take a chance on doing that. We really tried to have everybody able to participate in everything that we do. And of course, we're going to have a gigantic Hanukkah party. This year Hanukkah's on December 25th, and we'll have details about that because there'll be a catered dinner with that, a buffet dinner with Hanukkah. Have I left anything out?
No, that's pretty thorough.
Oh, good. Okay. I wish you all a good Shabbos. Come and have a little sweet and coffee and tea afterwards. And it's a good time for us to get to know each other even better and have a good chat. Okay. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Thank you so much.
So let's conclude our service with the Yigdal on page 53.
Wow.
Remember that? Prayer. 53. Yigdal Elohim Chai ve'yishtabach nimtza v'yenet el metziuto echad v'en yachid ve'yichudo ne'lam v'gam ein sof le'achduto ein lo demut haguf ve'eino guf lo na'aroch elav kedushato kadmon lechol davar asher nivra rishon ve'en reshit l'reshito hino adon olam v'chol notzar yoreh gedulato u'malchuto shefa nevuato netano el anshe segulato v'tifarto lo kam b'Yisrael k'Moshe od navi u'mabit et emunato Torat emet natan le'amoel al yad mevi'o ne'eman beito lo yachalif ha'el ve'lo yamir dato le'ol na'amim le'zulato sofer b'yodea setareinu mabit lesof davar bekadmato gomer ish chesed kemifalo noten l'rasha ra kerishato yishlach leketz hayamim meshichenu livdot mechakeketz yeshuato Metim Yirayel berov chasto Baruch Adei Ad Shem Tehilato מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך אתה עד שם תהילתו.
Please rise for the closing benediction. Yasher koach, Yivarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Yo'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May the Lord turn his face unto you and grant you peace. We'll say Amen. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom.
I just got two.